Hello and welcome back to the channel. It is Mark from Powersonic and Apprentice 121. Today's video is a bit of a review of our progress within the solar space and some of the things we've accomplished over the course of this year, but also some tips for those of you who may be already in this area of industry or looking to move into it in 2025, and some of the things you might want to consider and that may be helpful for you as well. We'll start off with some of the stuff that we've achieved, and certainly we've made way more progress in the renewables industry, so primarily solar PV generation and battery storage with us. You know, I was first expecting last year in 2023, which was the first proper year we did this, that we might do 4 or 5 installs. You know, we're fresh to that industry. We've got a lot of existing customers to look after in normal electrical contracting, and we did way more than that, way more. And this year has been much of the same. So in the lead up to Christmas, this video will be out over the Christmas period, we've done our biggest domestic system to date, which was 2 Sig and Store systems. I think it was around 30 panels altogether, 48 kilowatt hours of battery storage, and there's other stuff going in there down the road as well. That was a really big one. And then we've turned over another very large domestic system with 32 panels, I think, an inverter. And we'd played those in like 8 working days. So we've made a big shift in being able to deliver more work in shorter time frames. So that's kind of one of the things that I was hesitant to do in 2023. We were kind of doing a solar battery storage job and then maybe allowing a couple of weeks for other normal works, just in case we'd had any snags with the solar installs, so we had time in the diary to kind of bat things along a little bit rather than having week after week installs stacked up together. Now, very much I'm happy to do that because we know we've got the knowledge and experience knowing how long these things will take, even in bad weather. It's always the weather that throws the doubt into my mind. It's not the ability of the people doing the work. It's just that unknown variable. And if it's windy, if it's wet, if it's icy, and we can't get on roofs, then we can't do the job with the best planning and intentions in the world. That's a difficult one to overcome. But those worries kind of washed away through experience. And I would say to anyone who's looking to get into that kind of area of industry is, you know, always have that in mind. You look at these weather forecasts, try and plan your work as best you can. It's really difficult because most of us are booking stuff months in advance. But, you know, have foresight on the job project, if you like. Usually you're going to be there 3 or 4 days. And if the first 2 days look dry and sunny, don't waste that opportunity. Get straight up onto the roof, even if, you know, you would like to do your inverter first, for example, and then do the roof work. It's always better to look at that weather forecast and work with what you've got as best you can, as a little tip from something that we found over the course of doing this. And yeah, we've probably done, I don't know, maybe 40 jobs in renewables, so solar battery, maybe more actually. I'm working off the top of my head. I should have maybe got this data to hand. During 2024, so we're far from massive installers by any stretch. There is companies out there doing way bigger volume than that, but we are kind of set more in this bespoke space where consumers are reaching out to us through the YouTube content and looking for problems to be solved. So they've got more tricky installations that some of the energy retailers aren't able to propose on, or they've had a problem with another installer before, or they just like the cut of our jib and want to work with us, and they tend to be larger, more interesting systems at a domestic level. So that's been really good for us. And one of the things I would say, and I've said this a lot on the content, that, you know, my YouTube channel in the YouTube world of things is still really small. It's like 15,000 subscribers, 2 million total views. These are tiny numbers over on YouTube, but it makes a big difference to the marketing of your business. Both direct through the videos, when people are searching around, looking at this stuff, contemplating a decision to buy it, but also in your ranking on websites. And you don't need to be racking up thousands and thousands of views on videos for that to be effective. It's also a way of really introducing yourself and your brand to consumers. So we found that really, really good. A lot of our jobs in the renewable space especially come through YouTube and video content. So we found that as a, you know, that was a byproduct of doing videos on YouTube because I enjoy doing it and sharing the technical and educational content there. And moving that into the solar space really did bring an uptick in inquiries. So that was really nice. So yeah, we've had a really strong year, and Powersonic's going from strength to strength. Matty and Nathan are now very confident and established in doing the roof work and obviously the normal electrical work around it. Nathan's due to complete his apprenticeship in the first part of 2025, so he will be fully qualified. He's just finishing off the final bits of his NVQ pre-doing his AM2, which is probably going to be in spring, I think, from chatting with him the other day. So we've got that exciting thing to look forward to in next year. Other things that, you know, we're progressing to now, so we'll have a little look into the future, is getting into some more commercial installs, so some bigger systems. And we've got a project that's really exciting that I'm just in the processes of getting finally agreed and over the line for the first part of next year, which is going to end up being quite a large system in the end. It's starting off relatively small with a little 15 kilowatt array, but the roof space there is ginormous, and I can't say too much about it. And I know if I start talking about it, I'll give the game away, but it's going to end up massive, and it's really exciting. So that's a good one that we've got to keep an eye on. But we've also got some other more normal commercial jobs. So we've got a few 40 to 50 kilowatt systems, and that's the kind of natural progression we're taking. For those of you who watch a lot of the stuff I've shared on the channel before, you'll have heard me saying the slow but steady. So we're making sure we're established, capable, competent, well-financed and set in the space that we're occupying before we make that next step. Not through a lack of opportunity. We've had plenty of approaches to do bigger stuff, but that really has been that careful, excuse me, I needed to cough then, I'll try and hold it in, careful navigation towards those places. But we're on that path, and that's kind of the goal for 2025, is to get a few more of those over the line, see how we manage it. That's always the best way to approach these things. You get the best learning experience yourself by trying to walk the walk and deliver on this stuff. So that's exciting. Nathan's apprenticeship, business prospects. Highlights of 2024 in terms of the systems we've done. There's been a few, to be honest, and I don't think the videos will be out pre this that we've just done, but they're a couple of really, really interesting jobs. And I guess the one that maybe stands out the most for me would be the Solihull one. And that was mainly because of the lump in the roof. So it was an old roof with an existing lump in, and it was something we'd never had to deal with before. And it was a 50-degree pitch on that roof as well. It was steep. And yeah, we managed to, thanks to Mike from East Renewables, totally removed that. And it was quite staggering to see quite the difference that your rail adjustment can allow for getting rid of lumps and bumps in roofs. And tying all of those things together, as always, you know, when it's the same on every job. When you take a customer from drawing all that power from the grid to power their home, fill their electric vehicle up, and you see the meter stop when you turn the sunshine on, effectively, and open up access to them for the cheaper overnight tariffs, that is what it's all about. You know, the environmental stuff is fantastic, but, you know, a lot of things boiled back to pound and pence, especially with consumers, and I'm just the same myself. To see them get that, you know, that's so cool to know that they've got the control of their own energy within their hands. Then obviously they've made a significant outlay to get there, but you know, that system's going to serve them for years and years and pay for itself in no time. And also seeing the data of these installs as well, because we get those questions a lot. You know, how long are people going to take to get their money back? The battery will have worn out by then, and all the rest of it. And the MCS payback calculation is something that we regularly have questions towards as installers, because it can be manipulated, and some unethical installers out there very much do that. And it's a moving yardstick all the time anyway. But yeah, to see people actually getting money back, so they can say, oh, last year I paid this on my energy bill, and this year it's this. And you know, personally on my own system, we saved £2,000 this year in energy costs. That's just from load shifting on a battery and a bit of sunshine. It's an absolute game changer, getting in and amongst it, doing that. And it's really, really cool. So for all of the jobs we've done the last couple of years, and I think the highlight for me is actually the collective of customers that we've found. They're all brilliant and really do look after us in terms of just being nice, and also the food. So okay, cakes, sandwiches, butties. There seems to be this ongoing thing now from the YouTube videos where I've shared little bits of Matthew and Nathan enjoying the food being provided, and the next customer comes and has watched that and want to join in with it as well. And it's brilliant. It's not done to try and drop hints. It's just been something that's happened, and yeah, it's really nice. So that's been good. Some tips for installers. There's some changes coming to MCS. Now, we've also got the Renewables podcast, which is on a separate YouTube channel. I will link in the description to it from this, where myself and Sam Featherstone, who also owns a company in the renewables space, discuss lots of things out in industry. We have guests from the manufacturing world. We have other installers come on. We've had one of Sam's customers come on, the industry of things as well. And we really try and dig into that. And we've had MCS on recently, and I think those episodes will be out before this. So one of them, at least, will be out there already. That's with Ian Rippin, who's the CEO of MCS. And he's talking a lot about the changes that are coming in 2025. So if you're looking to get into this space as an installer, the MCS process that we went through 2 years ago now was quite arduous and very much heavy on the paperwork, admin, office, back-end stuff, and less so on the actual installation side. That's all changing, and I think it's a good change. We're going to go into the details of that on the podcast, so I'm not going to run through them here. But the short story is there's going to be less focus on your assessments in your office and all your paperwork and process, and more on what you can actually do out on site, which is a big change. And they're also, your consumer codes are going to become voluntary. But go off and watch that podcast. There's 2 episodes in total. Like I said, the first one should be out already, and it blows it open in 2 hours of conversation in ways I can't on this video. But yeah, if you're looking at joining HICE, REC, the MCS of things in a couple of months' time-ish, some of that might not be needed, and it should be a lot simpler process for you going forward. And I guess the fundamental principle of that is to try and get more smaller contractors coming into that sector, because at the minute, it's very top heavy of these larger companies, umbrella companies who have a lot of installers where the quality is maybe not where it could be. But if MCS can encourage some of the smaller contractors in, remove and lower the cost burden of entry for those people, and help them on the paperwork side of things, we might end up with a better pool of actual installers, and I hope that is the case. So yeah, there's that. My tips for you, if you're looking at all this, is your G99s as well. That used to be quite arduous. There's content on my channel from when we first started doing them a year, 18 months ago, and since then we've had the Click Connect or Quick Connect, whatever it's called, from the ENA, which is a way you can submit your G99s online. It's really fast, it's really easy. You just need a couple of pictures to really chuck in alongside it, one of your customer service head and electricity meter, and one kind of your schematic proposed system. And then it's just basically data, addresses, maximum demands and such, the fuse sizing. And if you fall within a certain set criteria, and I think roughly speaking it varies from DNO to DNO, around 5 kilowatts or so generally gets an approval within 24 hours at the most through that mechanism. If you've got bigger systems, and we've been installing a lot of those with some of these 10 kilowatts of energies, they still go off to the engineering design teams at those DNOs to do their calculations and wizardry to decide if it's okay or not, and if it's not, to set an export limit. So you are still able to install bigger inverters. So if you've got a customer who wants to make use of a 10 kilowatt inverter, for example, the DNO side of things might say you can only export 7, for want of a better example. But that doesn't mean you can't install that 10 kilowatt inverter. You just limit its export to 7. So if you're generating 10 kilowatts of sunshine, or combined with what's in the battery in the sunshine, you can still output that to your house loads. It just prevents the excess going out to the grid. So if you decided to discharge your battery, or it's really sunny and you've got a massive array, it would stop it at the 7 kilowatts. And the DNO is fine with that. So you can still do it. Lots of customers want that flexibility, especially when they've got heat pumps in the winter, when they've charged the batteries up overnight and they want to discharge them to cover off the peak heat pump demand. They've got the flexibility in the system then to do it. So it's about more than just sizing the system now. For the average consumption, if you like, maybe at 3 kilowatts-ish, and look towards some of these peaks with the cycling of heat pumps. Consumers are definitely switched onto that now. If they've got a heat pump that's going to pull 5-6 kilowatts for an hour earlier on in the day and later on in the day, they want to cover that off from their battery storage system. So we need to be able to do that. So just to mention that on there. Then there's the testing. Loads of videos on testing on my channel. We use the TIS gear. Those of you who watch a lot will know. And the performance testing of your arrays is very difficult over winter. That's one of the things we struggled on this December job, again, it won't be out yet, but it just wasn't a high enough lux level on the 3 days we were there with the system to be tested. I actually had to go back when the sun popped out for about an hour on one of the mornings just so we could do those tests. We had the data of knowing from the voltages and stuff that were coming out that they were right, but because there just wasn't enough generation taking place. So that's something to bear in mind. I think it's like 100 lumens per meter squared or whatever it is before the instruments are able to carry out, a test measurement that's going to be useful. But having done it, you will then know that your installed system is performing as it should on the light levels, temperature levels, and all the rest of it. And it's a verified, recorded piece of information for you to put in your handover pack and prove when you left the job it was as it should be, basically. Otherwise, your first instance of knowing about this could be 3 months down the line when the customer's telling you, my array's not really been performing as it said in the proposal it should be, and I'm not sure why. And you start having a look into it and you're like, oh, actually we're a bit down on performance. Has a panel gone faulty? Something happened? And if you've not got that first reference, you've got nothing to work from, really, aside from what's in your log data of the graphs in the inverters themselves. But if you've got that, you can go and repeat that performance testing, whatever the conditions are that day, and see if there's been any degradation between the two. And it could be you've had a panel or an optimizer go faulty. It could be you've got a case of PID and you need to investigate that. Or it could be something totally unrelated, such as a bird smashing a solar panel by dropping a rock on it or something. So there's all kinds of reasons, but it gives you that data point. So I would say, as a tip, as an installer, make sure you do invest in your test gear so you can do that. It helps with fault finding as well. If you're going off doing maintenance, that's the thing that's going to be booming soon. So there's the maintenance of all this stuff ongoing with your regular inspections that these systems need, even if they're working. And then all of the kind of repair maintenance when isolators go wrong, inverters go wrong, optimizers, systems might need cleaning. There could be unbird guarded systems out there where consumers are reaching out to you to come and kind of put bird guard on and get rid of all of the birds. All of these things require testing. So make sure you do get decent instruments. So yeah, I think that kind of covers those little tips. We're still using, as always, electrical OM. So if you're looking at doing your design, both on the AC and DC side, there's really good tools from like Easy PV and Open Solar for doing your normal like PV system designs. But in terms of your electrical cabling designs, I would say to look at Modex Soft Electrical OM on both the AC and DC side. It's a really good way of verifying all your volt drops are right, that your protective currents are spec'd correctly, you don't have selectivity issues, and yeah, you're working within the realms of optimum performance as well. It's really good. Free 14-day trial. I've used it now, I think, 3 years, and it's transformed the way we produce certificates, handover packs, designs, not just in renewables, but in all aspects of electrical work. Game changer. And there's a handy app for out testing while you're on your iPad and such as well. The other thing, remember this is going to be less of an issue going forward, is the CRM. So for your QMS manual, when you're in the solar sphere of things, as MCS dictate you need to do presently, it may change as this new process comes out. You need to kind of document serial numbers of equipment you've used, basically the supply chain auditing of where something came from, where it ended up. And then all of your subcontractors as well end up in your QMS manual, so they're traceable. You've got the contact details, you know what jobs they worked on, all of those things. I use ServiceMate. It's an absolute game changer, and I've done a few videos on this over the 3 years now I've been using it, and thanks to Stuart, was it Stuart Cato who put me on ServiceMate? I don't think it was. He was Electrical OM. Neil Bridgman was the one I saw with ServiceMate, and he was a big advocate of it. And because Neil's such an inspiration to me as a business person, I thought I should check that out at the very least. And it's been brilliant. We've managed to get forms in place. I've shown it doing its room scan before, where it'll actually use AI to scan a room. I think I scanned this one actually once on a video, which is really good for doing your designs and setting out where equipment might fit for your battery storage and gateways and stuff. So that's really useful. I'll drop links to all these things in the description if I remember, so go and check that if you're wondering what these are and where you can find them. And other than that, I think we're kind of there. The one last thing I do want to mention is the Apprentice 1-to-1 stuff, and I've left it right to the end because Apprentice 1-to-1 has got its own YouTube channel. But we've also been active with that, and the business gives me time off to go and do these things. That's often one of the questions I get asked is where I find the time. I'm never combining those two things together. I get time off from the day job to go and do it, and that happens because other people fill my work role. So Matthew, Nathan, Laura, always stepping up and covering what I should be doing to allow me the time to go and volunteer on the safe isolation stand that's been rolling out across industry. So that's a little initiative that's popped up to try and tackle the issues around workplace deaths due to electrocution and injuries as well, and going to the trade shows. I volunteered on a number of the days that we did those, at the Elect show, Installer show, and over in Northern Ireland most recently. There was a really good event with the ETT over there, and also for the Apprentice 1-to-1 stuff where we have learners take training and also receive remote support too with video content and such that helps them out with some of their questions. And most recently, going off to visit the colleges and taking them equipment. We've had huge support from across industry with that. I've still got a few of them to finish off. Because of these solar jobs we've ended up doing in December that weren't really part of the plan, my time to go and deliver that gear has vanished, basically. So I'm going to finish them off in the first part of January. They are my priority for January. We've got other projects running in our diary that are in the renewable space and don't need me doing designs and all the rest of it and the back end paperwork. So I'm setting some time aside to go and do that. But again, it's the business that supports that, which is why I'm mentioning it on this channel as something that is a really nice thing for us to do. And if you're in a position to do that yourself, not through Apprentice 1-to-1, just in your own right, reach out to a local college, FE1, so further education, and see if they need any support. It could be that you go in and give a talk to the learners about your business, your experience, or if you can supply them with basics, not even expensive stuff like clips, bonding clamps, cable, the odd drummer cable and stuff. Chances are they will bite your hand off at that, and we need, as industry, to try and help people delivering education, because the funding there at a government level just doesn't go far enough. You know, that's the short story. The underlying reasons for that are debatable, and we can argue till the cows come home about it. But if you're in a position to do even a tiny little thing to aid people on that path right now, then please do so. And if you want to do it for Apprentice 1-to-1, all are welcome in that community. We've got a lot of other people volunteer time. Craig went off to Waltham Forest doing a presentation the other week, and you know, people go under that banner doing things. That's absolutely fine as well. It is not me or mine. It is for industry. It was just a hashtag. Let's have it right. But yeah, that's been something we've been proud to support, and that's why I wanted to mention it on this video. And yeah, it's just a bit of a year in review. We have grown our turnover. I don't like going into numbers on stuff because I think it's a bit stupid. You can make any numbers sound good if you play around with them for long enough. But we have grown our turnover significantly, profit as well, across the businesses, and it's promising signs. I'm excited, and I think it's the big opportunity still, just as a closing statement for anyone who's stuck through to the end of this video. If you're not in renewables yet and you think, I've left it too late, it's too late. It's a really hard and hyper market at the minute because the energy retailers and some of the big players are really driving hard at prices, certainly in the residential space. But we're not in the mass adoption phase yet. You know, we've still got a relatively small number of PV systems out there, and there is many, many more times what's been done still to be done. And from chatting with Ian Rippon from MCS, I think it was going from 1 gigawatt that we've got to 17 gigawatts just in residential domestic, which is a huge number. And that's got to be achieved by 2032. So it's not a long way away. And there's going to have to be a big ramp up in these kind of works. And my hope is that that'll be set more on getting value from those systems rather than just putting them in for putting them in's sake. And they're all done terribly with loads of problems because it was lashed in cheap, and hopefully the solar space gets on top of that. The solar coaster has to end, and we need to start getting real value. And that's what we're here for in our space, but there's room for lots more people because of that in the coming months and years ahead. So even if you're just skirting around the idea of doing it, getting your courses done is an absolute no-brainer, because even if you don't want to start doing it, there's going to be loads of maintenance on it when you go in people's houses anyway, because everyone's going to have one of these things before too long. So you might as well get ahead of curve on your training. If you find you've got an interest for it, surprisingly I did. For those of you who watch the content of the past, you'll know that I wasn't overly keen on doing this to start with. It was a passion point of Matthew and Nathan. And I'm still not great on heights, but I have absolutely loved learning about all this stuff and getting stuck into the thick of it along that journey. And it might be the same for you as well. You might be totally discounting it, thinking you'd hate it. If I wasn't pushed, I would have never done it. So if you're watching this and you're in two minds, give it a try, see what you think. Reach out to other local installers and see if you can go and do a bit of work experience with them as well. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video through to the end. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We've got loads of episodes about lots of the things I've spoken about in here, from testing, from your software, your design, your G99s. It's all on the channel already, so please have a little dig back through if anything you wanted to look into a bit more. And we'll be back next year with more installs going in week to week. I'll keep sharing these in the hope that it helps other installers and consumers, and also to help us reach more customers ourselves. Have a great Christmas. I think this will be out pre-Christmas. And a Happy New Year, and I'll see you all again soon.